Well, good evening and welcome to the online wine tasting club. The bad shirts are here, but the
Yes, they
Alex
are.
Taylor is not. For those of you who've been here for a while, you may well recognise Mr. Lee Isaacs, Wine
Or,
Man 147.
no,
My bad.
that's Spanish, isn't it? This is
That-
German.
this is
Guten
German.
Abend.
Oh, you are
So-
multi-talented. You're
Wow.
multi-talented.
Yes.
So this evening we are going to do a lot of German wines. I'm going to try and not make it a holiday snaps trip. I was very, very lucky. A lot of these wines we're doing today, one of my lovely, lovely suppliers, ABS Wines, took me on a trip to Germany earlier this year, and I got to kind of do a little bit of a tour. So Lee is here to go. Stop talking about your holiday. No one cares. Let's drink some good wine. And we're going to touch a little bit on wine law as well. Wine law can be horrible, complicated, over the top. So we're going to try and make it a little bit light and easy, but rather than sit here and give you 101 different laws to learn, we really want to have a discussion with you at home of what you think about wine laws, how it helps, how the labelling is good, bad, indifferent, or difficult.
I know a wine law that in Germany you're not allowed to be drunk in charge of a bicycle.
Ooh.
That's an actual law. I'm not making it up. I know it's frowned upon to be drunk in charge of a bicycle in many countries, but in Germany it is against the law.
Oh, look at that.
Is that a good law?
Magda's excited for you. So
Welcome back. Hey.
If
hi,
you
Magda.
give enough good reviews, we can probably move Alex out permanently. That'd be a
Yeah,
great idea.
I am available for
that's
weddings,
awesome.
funerals, bar mitzvahs, live shows, anytime.
So anyway, as we get on to wine number one, I'm just going to pop this up here. We've got Slido as always. So anyone who's joining us for the first time, you can scan the code, go to towtc.co.uk/taste, or just go to slido.com and put this on your device. It allows you to put your tasting notes in. And we also, because we started last month and everyone had a good time, we are going to have an end of show quiz that is some German and some other random facts. So
who doesn't like a quiz?
And go from there.
Especially on a Friday evening.
Let's get wine number one in the glass, because that's probably what we're all here for and what's very, very important about everything today.
So, a very dry glass.
It's a very dry glass.
And talking of dry, we're starting with a rosé. Is this a dry rosé?
So technically, yes, but it's got a nice bit of fruit to it. But we'll get it in the glass and let everyone see what they think.
How do people feel about rosé? So it's very popular. So when I became a wine merchant a million years ago, I would sell rosé for 6 weeks of the year. That was it, in summer. Now it's all year round. People are very passionate about it. They feel very strongly about it. What are your favourite rosé? Or what's your preferred style? Do you like the drier style, the sweeter style?
There's lots of options. So as we sip into this, thoughts about Germany. I think Germany is a really interesting place. Lots of cool wine, but I think it sits with a little bit of. We'll just talk about the elephant in the room. The blue tall bottle.
There's a bit of baggage, isn't there?
None of your business. But yes, I think sometimes we think Germany.
I've just realised what song we could have done at the end.
What?
Blue Nunday.
We'll have to work on it for next time.
Next one.
But anyway, as we continue on, Also, no, I'm just getting these tasting notes up for everybody. So there we go.
It's fair to say there is some baggage with Germany still, even though that baggage is quite a long time ago now.
Yeah,
it's still present.
And it was interesting because that sweet style, well, I say sweet style of Riesling, Blue Nun was made with Silvaner and a little bit of Riesling in there. But everyone go, oh, it's Riesling and it's sweet. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of things that people, German wine is Riesling and it's sweet, and I don't like it because I don't like sweet wines. And I think that sits, I say wrong, no one's wrong, but on different levels. People do like sweet wines, they like sweet things, but you're meant to say you like dry because that's cool in wine. Most people like chocolate cake, they like sweet, they like sugar, they like sweet. Two, Germany makes phenomenal Riesling, but does make lots of other cool things as well.
Yes, it does.
And see, what was my third thing? It's not all sweet.
It's not all sweet.
Riesling goes from absolutely bone dry with enough acidity to take the enamel off your teeth to sweet enough to rot your teeth out.
I didn't need that enamel anyway. It was overrated. But here's a stat for you. In 1985, 85% of German white wine production was sweet. Today, it's less than 15%. So there's been a big change in stylistically.
A lot of the sweet stuff was also made for the export market, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was like, the Brits liked the sweet, and a lot of the dry stuff stayed in Germany. And I think across the board, there's so many wine regions out there that the style that got to us is the style that we think it is. You take South Africa and that kind of leaf rolly
Yeah.
pinotage, and really great fruity examples in South Africa. But as the world's become a little bit more global, we're becoming exposed to more of these styles, which I think is really important.
And we're starting to realise there's a lot more. We tend to oversimplify in wine from a commercial perspective and go, Australia does that, Chile does this, Germany does this. And actually, it's much more complicated. And you just said a second ago, Germany's this fascinating wine producing, 135 different grape varieties growing.
Are you going to list them off?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I might have a think about. I might think. I was going to tell you my joke about German sausages when I was in the bath. It goes from bad to worst.
Oh my word! On that note,
yeah, should we talk some wine?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Villa Wolf. So now with our new badger cam,
there it is.
You should be able to see the label. So we are Villa Wolf Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir Rosé, and this winery I absolutely love. They've been around since, I think it's 1843 they started up, but was most recently bought by Dr. Lucen in 1996. And the idea behind these wines are the fact that they're meant to be varietally correct, built for what they're meant to be built, easy drinking, and good value for money. You know, a lot of the time, and you know, there's going to be 100 winemakers out there that will go, no, this is not what we do. Sometimes you get a rosé because the Pinot Noir didn't get ripe enough.
Yep.
And it's going, well, we can't make Pinot Noir, so we're going to make rosé. This particular winery it grows it to make rosé. It doesn't grow it to make, it makes Pinot Noir, and it grows different grapes to make its red Pinot Noir. And it's got a certain block that's just set up to do this
specifically for rosé production.
Exactly. So here we're in the faults, and if I'm very clever here, I should be able to.
You're always very clever, not just here. He's clever in other places too. Look out for him in the real world, in the wild.
Of your own.
Hey.
You should have a little German wine map.
I once managed to convince a native German that it was actually pronounced Pfalz, and I managed to convince her of that. That was hours of fun with me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what we can see with Germany here is the vast majority of the German wine regions are in the southwest of the country. Once you get a little bit further north here, it just becomes a little bit too cold. A little bit too cold to get anything right. But, with a lot of the world, we're seeing things go a little bit more to the extreme, a little bit further north in the northern hemisphere, a little bit further south in the southern hemisphere. But what's really important about Germany is its river system. You'll see just about every major wine growing region is on a river, and most of it is named after the river. Mosel is on the Mosel.
Rheinhessen and Rheingau
is on the Rhine, etc., etc.
This wine stuff's really tough, people. Don't take your chances. Rely on us. Yeah?
Exactly, that's very important. So we're kind of centered around here. Around Frankfurt and Stuttgart are probably your two big cities if you're getting into wine country to then come back out.
Are there any other towns or cities where you could worms your way in? Do you think?
I thought I got super duper for a minute. But anyway, so what do you think of this?
So full disclosure, Rosé and me historically haven't got on that well. So anybody watching this who does know me, you're going to have to deal with that. The first thing I noticed when I taste it is just that real purity of fruit. It's really expressive. It's open. It's quite generous, but it's not sort of big and sweet and cloying. We're going strawberry laces, rhubarb and custard sweets. I like that. What I liked on the palate was just a lick of sweetness to it. It's not a sweet wine, but it's just got that really delicate lick of sweetness in there. While you're typing away, it's got a nice fresh acidity to it. So it kind of has texture because you've got that little bit of sweetness, that little bit of acidity, and it's a nice journey. It sort of flows across the palate really beautifully.
Absolutely. And if you weren't sure what to say, the lovely people at home have put a set of tasting notes up for you. But it's got that strawberry. I like the wild strawberry because it has got that funky. It's not just jammy, juicy strawberry. It's got that little bit of greenness in there, that little bit of. I love the style of rosé. I think a lot of people think, once again, very, very dry, that Provence kind of, light pink, this kind of colour, but, very dry, very crisp, high acid. For me, sometimes there's not enough about that. It just feels a bit, it's not exciting.
I've been a little bit cynical in the past about certain things. That will amaze anybody that knows me, to being a bit cynical. But as you've just said, a lot of those, like this, especially some of the super premium ones, you're paying more money for it to actually do less. Well, I like this stuff because it has flavour. So when you have a rosé that just feels like it's got a bit more about it, a little bit more weight, a little bit more texture, those flavours kind of dance and tingle a little bit more on the palate. I think it's actually more interesting. But what I like is the way this sweetness is handled. Is it's subtle enough it'll appeal to the person who likes the really dry rosé. And actually, is there enough sweetness to appeal to someone who likes something a little bit sweeter?
Yeah, someone with that Pinot Grigio blush, that rosado kind of style. It's got that richness to that. And I think don't judge a rosé by its colour, I think is a very important thing. You can have a very light rosé that can be very sweet, and you can have a dark rosé that's very, very dry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a great point here. I wouldn't associate Germany with rosé, but this is lovely. And I think that is the whole joy of being able to taste wines. And if you don't love it, it's not the end of the world.
It's fine.
We've got 5 more wines.
We won't take it personally. Don't worry. Anybody that doesn't, we're going to be on the phone to Ernst Losen, and going, hey, we've got your address.
Sort it out. Yeah.
We're gonna get this fixed. But the one of the many wonderful things about wine is however much you know a country or a region, that you've never discovered everything it's doing. There's always something, even a really established region that is associated with something. There'll be someone there doing something that you've not had, and that's really exciting.
Absolutely. And there's always a new winemaker, and even if it's all the same, there's a new vintage, or there's something that someone's aged for another year. Or
the vines are a year older.
Exactly.
It's going to make more complex fruit. Really liking this one,
and I think that was a big part of my trip, is how diverse the different regions were. Yes, was there a lot of steep hillsides? But you go to any winemaking region, there's a lot of steep hillsides. But the temperature difference, and what I found that was, it was quite warm. It was like 32 degrees every day I was there. And you associate Germany with being cool climate, cold. And it's really not. And, we'll probably need to get onto wine number 2 soon, because I'm yabbering on. But we'll pull these tasting notes up. But while I'm yabbering on about this,
you do notice those temperatures. I remember I was in the Moselle in spring, and it was a warm spring, but it was hot and sunny, and the sunlight being reflected off the river to the top of the vineyard in which I was stood. Like we had to take our jumpers off. Luckily, we had t-shirts underneath.
Get sunburn.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing. And we talk about a wine being old world or new world, and Alex chucks a load of bottles at me and goes, "Like, taste this." And
he just chucks a load of bottles at him. But we're sorting that out.
Quick-handed.
He's got anger issues.
That's why we have to go to pouches.
And he's got more of them.
But I've kind of gone from blind tasting, being able to go, maybe this is showing that I'm not as great at blind tasting as I thought I was.
I won't hear that.
But rather than going, this is old world, new world, I'm starting going, this is old world but warmer climate, or new world cooler climate, because there's a lot of regions like Germany, like Oregon. Oregon cool climate, new world. Germany is kind of middle climate now. Languedoc, warm climate for the old world. So it's I think this Campino sweets. I don't know what a Campino sweet is. Do you know what Campino
I do.
It's
like it relates to the strawberries and cream thing here. It's like it's a boiled sweet.
Oh, is that the one that's the little white?
Yeah, it's white with like red swirlies on it. That's it.
I do know what a Campino
I get that.
sweet is.
But so when it comes to tasting notes, I really like that as a description. Because I got it, but 2, when you didn't, with a very brief conversation, we figured it out and gone, oh, that makes sense. So tasting notes that relate to real experience, I think, is ideal.
I think that's great about tasting notes, because you can say, oh, this tastes like my grandmother's apple pie. If you've never had my grandmother's apple pie, you've got no idea.
If it did taste like this, I bet it was delicious.
I don't know, probably a bit burnt around the edges.
Yeah,
but
that would be my apple pie.
Said. But I think what's interesting about this is I always talk about the complexity of a wine based on the tasting notes, and we don't always expect rosé to be complex. But there's a lot of tasting notes and a lot of difference in there, which showcases that it's a really interesting rosé.
I'm really liking here honeysuckle. I like that because I get a slightly floral element to it, and then when you've got that lick of sweetness on the palate, actually, you put those two things together, takes you to honeysuckle. Like somebody said, creamy as well. So I think that's the other thing. Think about tasting notes. It's not literally just flavors. It's how does this wine feel in the mouth, and that little bit of cream, again, that little bit of sugar in there,
and the kind of strawberry, because we've got a little bit of strawberry, we've got a little bit of almost like confected strawberry in there, but we've also got the wild strawberry in there and strawberries and cream. So it's not, and strawberry laces. So it's not strawberry.
No,
it's a different way. It's like lemon. Is it lemon peel, lemon zest, lemon this? But anyway, we are lemoning around. So should we move on to wine number 2? While I pour this, do you just want to talk a little bit about what you'd eat with this, apart from Campino sweets?
Well, Campino sweets being the obvious, I think Elaine here said goes very well with German smoked cheese and meat. I like that. I quite like the idea of some kind of charcuterie and hard cheese with this because it's got that little bit of acidity to cut through fattiness and match up with the cheese, but it's got that little bit of sweetness to offset it. I think it would work well with that. Actually, a slightly more off the wall choice. What about a bit of smoked salmon and cream cheese bagel action? I could get into some of that with this.
I could do that quite happily. Yeah.
It's got a really lovely finish to it as well. What else would you pair with it, dear viewer? So we had German smoked cheese and meat. What else? Would you pair anything else with that rosé? Or how about just on its own on a nice summer's afternoon? So the perfect time of year to be talking about that, obviously.
I think that sounds like a perfect idea.
Yeah, nice and chilled summer's afternoon. A little bit of fruit salad even. Just some fresh berries.
Right, so tasting notes are up for wine number 2. And we are drinking Donhof. And we are in the Nahe. Let's come to Badgercam so we can see the...
No,
we're not. Oh, I see what you've done there.
Yeah.
There we are. So we've got the Donhof. I like this new camera. You can see the label. So this is Donhof, and I am going to apologise in advance for all my poor German pronunciation because I'm sure there's someone on here who can do it much better than me, and I cannot. So this is the Tonschiefer Dry Slate Riesling, and Tonschiefer basically means dry slate. So it's the dry slate Riesling.
Jawohl.
From Nahe.
They are very precise, those German types, and I like that. I know we'll probably talk a little bit about labelling a bit later, but it's a perfect description of what it actually is.
It does exactly what it's the Ronseal of wines.
Now, we like so I mentioned dry slate, one of the things with Riesling, and it goes back to what we were talking about slightly earlier, we expect, the traditional view is German Riesling and it's sweet, and we're seeing a lot more dry Riesling. I like that dry Riesling. You can have fruit in it, but to have that kind of am I allowed to say minerality? Is that a dirty word?
You can use minerality. We discussed this for a little bit before the show that some educational boards do not like the word minerality. Because it's not a real thing. Because the minerals don't go into the vine. To which I responded, but this tastes of lemons and limes, and there's no lemons or limes creeping their way up the stem of the vines, are there?
Can I mention old Riesling and petrol? Like, have you just you're not allowed to go down BP or SO or any of the other many fuel merchants that are available and just put a bit into you. You're not allowed to do that.
Better than argon tank.
It's better than argon tank, yeah. And they're not spraying it in the vineyards either, so it's not getting soaked up. But yeah, good dry Riesling. It's got that like fleshiness of fruit, but it's got that electrical crackling. I'm going to say the word mineral because I've used it for the 2 decades plus that I've been doing this.
Anyway, I had to say, I have been to lots of beautiful wine places in my time.
Have you been to Germany recently? I don't know if you mentioned
Let's not do this. We do this every time.
Did you know? He's been to Germany recently. Have you got any holiday pictures to share?
This is the Nahe. So this is up the hillside, looking down over to the river. Donhof is the building, if you kind of see down by the bridge, just on the left-hand side, that kind of white building there, that's where Donhof is. And the fact is you go picture postcard kind of thing, and I'm like, usually I have to go out and nick photos off the internet to create things. I took that photo myself, and it's everything that the world should be. It's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, we went to Donhof, and then if you see on the bottom right here, there's a little restaurant there. So we had a tasting at Donhof, went over the bridge, came down to the restaurant, and after tasting many wines, we had to sample the local schnapps, which was quite delicious.
What did you pair with the local schnapps?
More schnapps.
More schnapps with a schnapps chaser.
Exactly.
I trust.
That's what it's all about.
What could go wrong?
So, do we want to talk a little bit while we've got Riesling in the glass? Just kind of a run through how the German wine system works, and then when someone in the chat goes, "I'm bored," we will stop. I think that sounds like a good idea. So. Shall I bring the presentation? We don't need them. We'll do it without the presentation.
We'll do it. We can do it without.
If people want a presentation, a slideshow, we can do that. But that might become...
That would be very corporate. And
overblown.
And one thing I can tell you, as I'm very delighted to be a guest here on the Online Tasting Club, I always am. But one thing I can tell you about them, which may come as a shock, is they're not particularly corporate here.
we try our best.
You do, and you succeed expertly, sir.
So, if we start at the very, very beginning of German wine, we have what's called Deutsche wine, which is any wine that is grown in Germany, basically, whatever you fancy doing. Yep. We then got the step up, which is then Landwein.
Wine from the land?
Wine from the land, exactly. And then we kind of go into 2 kind of splits. We've got the Qualitats wine, or QBA, which has to come from a certain region. So when we talk about Moser, when we talk about Nahe, when we talk about Rheingau, Rheinhessen, those kind of places, that's what's called, and that region is called an Albalgebiet. Is that right? How's my pronunciation?
So QBA is what we used to call Qualitat Bestimmt Anbaugebiete. Anbaugebiete. Anbaugebiete is region. There's 13 of them. Alex has listed most of them. You can look up the others.
Alex hasn't listed any.
No, Alex hasn't listed because he's not here.
My word. He's had one tasting.
I know. Look at that. It's just, I'm excited to be here.
You prefer Alex. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
So with the Qualitats vine, you have to be from one of those regions. We then have what's called our Predicats vine, and that is kind of based on sweetness. I think that's probably the best way to put it. So it's based on the potential sweetness of the wine that goes up in different stages, starting at Cabernet, then Spätlese, then Auslese, then Beer and Auslese, then Trockenbeer and Auslese. But it's kind of, you've got, I know, but you've got only got a little bit of a range. But it's not about actually how sweet the final wine will be, because the wine can get fermented to a different level of alcohol. So if you have a lower alcohol wine in a particular band, you're probably going to have a slightly sweeter style of wine because less of the sugar has been turned to alcohol. So if you've got two Cabernets, for example, and one is at 12.5% alcohol and one's at 8% alcohol, you're going to see that one is sweeter than the other. So you can therefore, my word, how am I doing this? You can therefore have a sweetness level that is a step up, but actually ends up being drier than the level below it because of the fermentation.
So to give you a real life anecdote of this, I was teaching somebody about German wine, and we talked about how he had Cabernet and Spätlese, and Spätlese means later picked, so in theory it's got more sugar. And I produced the bottle, and the bottle said Trocken. Trocken is the German word for dry, and it blew this guy's mind because he's like, no, but it must be sweeter because it's picked later and it's got more sugar. Yes, but they've changed all the sugar to alcohol. It's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, no, it does make sense. They've just picked it later and they've got more alcohol, but it says dry on it because it is dry. And then we had this very Python-esque kind of breakdown for about 25 to 30 minutes. So you have these terms, and it's what I love about these terms is they tell you an awful lot about the wine that's in the bottle. In fact, German wine labels tell you more about what's in the bottle than any other wine label from anywhere else. The inaccessibility is if you don't speak German, it can be difficult to get across that and be taught that. But they do tell you an awful lot about the wine.
Yeah, absolutely. We could do. Let's try this. Let's try this.
You're a dude that's eating slate. Now that you're my kind of person, that's what I'm talking about.
Because on the front of your
what's he got here?
Booklet, you've got a hand light, and then I've got to get rid of that so you can see it. Look at that. Yeah, you can see handy little label that you can see. You've got the winery. You then got the producer at the top here. This is just an example. Fritz Hager's a producer. Vintage, I think, is fairly clear. And then you can see, the village that it comes from, the grape. So you'll see the grape as Riesling, the ripeness level as Cabernet. You can then see the quality classification at the bottom. And then
you've got the village and the single vineyard. And actually, this all comes from the German wine law, which was established in 1971. So despite all these many years of history, it's 1971 where the laws came about. But they're very specific. There's a lot of detail that has to go onto a German label, as you've just evidenced right there.
There we are, absolutely. But I think that is, and, Richard's point there about this tasting slaty and minerally, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. It tastes rocky. It tastes, and not from this vineyard, because, hey, that would be ideal. But I should have.
Holiday pictures.
Yeah, this was in the Mosel, but this is what the ground looks like. This is what the vineyards look like. When you talk about a slate vineyard, it's there. And what's great about slate is it holds water. Mm-hmm. You pick that piece of slate up and dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Break it in half, water in the middle. So it holds, it's very porous and holds water. So it allows grapes to, they've got to work hard for the water, but it kind of releases as is needed, which is really helpful for grape growing.
Slowly over time. What I love about those vineyards is you look at them and you go, the audacity of somebody to go, I'm going to make stuff grow here. Like way back when, before they understood all the science.
I'll tell you, we'll talk about it a little bit later when I've got some more holiday snaps for everybody. But I think if there was ever a place in the world that you had to have an understanding of why a bottle of wine costs what a bottle of wine costs, it's the slopes in Germany. If you had to go out there with this rucksack on your back, this cage on your back, go up
and
cut all these grapes up and down, up and down, up and down, and then go and press them and make them into wine, I would be expecting a few quid for my bottle of wine at the end of the day. It's absolutely insane. And I think, with anything, it's like getting out to the vineyards. I can say till the cows come home, Germany's got steep slopes. And even the photos don't do it justice until you stand. I've got a little bit of a vertigo problem.
Yes, same.
And you go, yeah, this. I'm okay now. I'll look up.
I'm being at the top of Wirtsgarten, which is, there'll be a callback to that later on. Look out for it, ladies and gentlemen. I've been at the top of that and looking down this vineyard, going, I need to just sit down, and somebody needs to help get me away from here, because it is. You're right. These pictures don't capture it. They're so steep. Even when you stand sort of at the level of the river and you look up at it, you see how steep it is. But then when you get to the top, you feel like you're going to drop off the end of the world.
Oh, absolutely.
But it would be so beautiful if you did, because it's staggeringly beautiful. But it's these steep.
But I think this one, we talk about what pairs with Riesling, and it obviously depends on the style. But this is this classic Asian food, a little bit of spice. Like pad thai, anything with a little bit of chili, a little bit of spice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is dry, and it's interesting because it's relatively low alcohol for most things, but kind of medium pushing higher for this kind of style, because we're at 12% alcohol here. But I think the key is there's so much balance in there. You've got lovely zippy acidity. You've got fresh fruit. Let's bring the tasting notes up, because I think the tasting notes here are wonderful.
It's so, the fruit's so juicy and flesh, isn't it? Like lime, the thing in the middle here, I feel like I'm biting into a lime and it's just exploding all that beautiful lime juice right into my mouth. Juicy and fresh.
I'm going to delete us for a second, because it's lime juice.
Ooh.
I get that. So when you cut an apple up and you chuck a bit of lemon on it to stop it browning and then go back to it. It's exactly that. It's got that juiciness, and then that little bit of
that
zip.
Bright zip of acidity to it. Now, this is a good time to sort of share something a little bit more personal. We get on, and I know some of the viewers watching this. I don't mind sharing this. Several years ago, I've been in wine a long time. Several years ago, I wasn't feeling very well. Had to go and see the doctor, and the doctor did some tests and told me, "I'm very sorry, Mr. Isaacs, but you're suffering from chronic Riesling dependency." And I'm patient zero, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, chronic Riesling dependency.
Not me then.
No, I think, were you patient number one?
I'm
following me.
Well, to be fair, I was in the States at the time, so I might have been, patient zero.
That's it.
Continental patient zeros.
That's it. And those doctors didn't speak to each other to work out that maybe this is a bigger issue than people realise. CRD.
They weren't having Zoom calls at that time.
No, they weren't. Were they? No. Hashtag CRD. It's a thing.
You put that on social media, and the amount of people that went back, yeah, it's a thing.
It is a thing. It is a thing. And actually, if you don't know you've got it, you've got it. You've got it. It'll dawn on you one day. You go, yes, I have CRD also. This is just, it's just so alive. It's so vibrant.
So I was waiting for you to go on, please give £2 a month or whatever you can afford to support a poor sommelier with CRD.
For just £50 a month, you could support Lee in being able to drink Egon Müller.
Yeah, unfortunately he's got grosses Gewächs. It's a big problem. But anyway, we're going a little bit off topic here. So but yeah, so we've then got, once we go past those sweetness levels, we've got the VDP system. But I think we can leave VDP till a little bit later. I think we'll leave that
a little bit later on. And I'll try and figure it out what it actually is before the end of the show.
When we get a VDP wine to go with. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, cool.
That is wonderful. I love the suggestion of Asian food, but just that something moderate spice to it. Like not too spicy, moderate spice, and the two things will counteract and interact beautifully. That's just wonderful. Big fan of Dönhoff, worked with their wines for years. I think they go back to like the 1700s.
So I'll tell you what my favourite thing about Germany is. One of my favourite things is bottles that they do in large format, because there is nothing better than a Magnum of Riesling that looks like a baseball bat. It's insane. Yeah. They're so much fun.
Yeah, they make the Magnums. They just keep them the same shape. You need a really big fridge. Which, being wine trade professionals, obviously we both have big fridges.
Well, exactly. Well, no,
What else are you
I'll
going to
tell
do?
you a story about Magnum. I won't tell you a story about a Magnum Riesling. I'll tell you a story about a Magnum Riesling later on.
Now, there you go. That's a promise.
It is. It
You
is.
have to make sure that he
Just,
tells us this
just
story.
remind me to tell you the Magnum Riesling
Because
story
I don't
later
know
on.
this story either, so I'm very keen to hear it.
Fantastic. Anyway, while we're pouring this,
Fantabby
apparently I've been requested to. I never thought I'd be on a show that we're doing shout outs, but we've got our good friend Mr. Ian Wareham is on the show tonight, and his lovely, lovely mother has come over from the United States to hang out and I think visit him, but more so watch us.
I think just here for this,
Lovely,
surely.
absolutely. You know, Ian second choice, but that's okay. But lovely that people over from the States, and also it's an international smorgasbord today, and I say my wife's friend Andresa has flown over from San Diego just to watch the show.
Look at this.
So thank you very much for joining us. And
hello, our fellow Americans.
Exactly. But there we go. Anyway,
there you go. Here you go. He's just this is completely tangential to that, and I love tangerines. They're my favourite fruit. Do you know that the world's single largest producer of Riesling is an American company?
Is it?
It is Chateau Saint Michel
in Washington State.
Washington State. They are the single largest producer of Riesling as one business, not regional country. But yeah, there you go. Just as we've gone off on this American tangent.
Yeah, see, I told you that was the truth. Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Yeah. There we are.
Oh my God, he's on his third wine.
My word, USA!
Silly,
here we go. Like, come on, we don't want this partisan activity.
Everyone's had okay.
We're getting flags up and all sorts.
Everyone's had their shout out now. So anyway, back to Germany.
Here we are. What's up next?
Gewürztraminer. So this is Louis Guntram and Gewürz. So we're in the Rheinhessen now. And their winery is literally on the water. If you've got your booklet, I'm not going to be able to do that in the Badger Cam because it's there. But that top left, no, that side. There we go. That picture there with the boat. That is taken from the veranda of Louis Guntram. We arrived there at whatever time in the morning and were greeted with a lovely glass of a sect, which is your German sparkling wine.
Bit of sect first thing in the morning.
So let's talk about sect.
Let's talk about sect, baby.
Oh,
that's
my
it.
Word. What's going on today? So, Gewürz. I love it. I think it's a great grape, but it needs to be looked after. I don't know. I don't think there's very many average Gewürztraminers. They're either wow or what have you done?
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
I think much like my shirt collection, which is there's like one wow and then the rest is what are you doing?
We're still waiting for the wow one.
And we're still waiting for the wow one. It's not made an appearance yet. I keep doing it because if I come out and wear the wow shirt, I won't get asked back because I'll have peaked. But yeah, I think there's Gewürz out there that just doesn't work. And I think the Gewürz that doesn't work tries to play too much to being that like really super floral aromatic thing, and it becomes overbaked and it goes like, what's that shop on the high street that you walk past and it's always just this a salt of smell of soaps like and
Lush Body Shop.
Lush, Lush. Like nobody wants a wine that smells like Lush. Okay. Yeah. But those ones that strike that balance of a bit of weight, bit of texture, and the floral element kind of integrated and weaving around the fruit, spectacular. It can be a spectacular grape variety.
It is, and when it's overdone, and it's a horrible analogy, but it's true that it's when you went round your grandmother's house, too much potpourri, just overblown. And the thing is, if there's not enough of that floralness, it's not Gewürz anymore to me. It's got to be right. So these guys, family owned since 1648, I think. See if I've got that right. 1648, and it's the 11th generation of the family. And tasting with Constantine was absolutely phenomenal. And they make so many cool styles. They make rosés. They make a rosé as well, which is lovely.
Okay.
They make a lot of Rieslings. But I just thought showing a Gewürz just to show the diversity of what can be made in Germany. We could have quite easily just done 6 Rieslings tonight and got on with it, and everyone would have been very happy.
Yeah.
But I don't think
that wouldn't be a realistic expression of what Germany is. And again, partly, we were talking about this at the start, partly it's trying to get away from those preconceived notions that even if we did all Riesling and showed an array of styles, you're still going, well, Germany's just Riesling. 135 grape varieties, as I mentioned, there's loads and loads of stuff to look at. and taste. And they do some of these other varieties so well.
It's, I think when you first say Gewurz, you think France, you think Alsace.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Germany kind of has its own style. I think there's a little bit more. Once again, this is a massive generalisation, and people will come back and shoot. Oh, I've had a wine from France. It's like this. I think Alsace is a bit more weighty, a bit more powerful, a bit more oomph. But you've got to think where France is and where Alsace is, and it's been German, depending what part of the year it is. You're not a million miles away. So you think that Gewurz from Alsace is going to be more similar to a wine in Germany than a different wine in France almost. You look, the Vosges Mountains go up and through, and it basically divides Alsace from the Pfalz. It's, you go, that wine's going to be more Alsatian in style than it's going to be from somewhere else in Germany.
It's really got some bite to it. Did you spot that one there? I've got 100 more of them. I'm just extemporising these at this point.
Yeah, that's Dalmatians, not Alsatians.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So actually, although the jokes were funny, they didn't work.
No, they were wrong.
But they caught you out initially to start with. So I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. Glasses, purple, yellow, diamond. That makes no sense.
That makes no sense.
No, not at all. And
anyway,
I think that person needs to put the glass down and step away.
Look at these tasting notes.
Honeysuckle, peach, rose water, pear. I mean, that is just classic.
Subtle potpourri.
Subtle potpourri can take that. I mean, that is a classic WSET style night. Tropical Solero. Oh, I like that. That could be.
So here's a question. A question for the masses while we're in the chat. We've got Lee here. WSET diploma. WSET educator. Man of many talents. For one of the next wines, would it be useful for you at home to kind of do a proper little WSET analysis, just to kind of how he talks through wines and how we come up with this whatever yabbering we talk about, but kind of on a more standardised scale. So if you fancy that, chuck a yes in the chat. If you want him to not do it, go, Lee, please don't. We like your shirts and your jokes better.
Just say, Lee, shut up. That's fine. It's got... But going back to what you were saying, the Alsace maybe has a slightly bigger, broader style. Here it's slightly different, but you can connect the dots. You can see the similarities to them. I love the purity of the fruit in this and the way that floral, aromatic, described as honeysuckle here, just weaves. And this just rolls across the palate. Ah, man, this is proper Gewurz.
It's beautiful. It's fresh.
It's delicious.
It's got richness, and
it's got spice.
You just look at how many different tasting notes we've got there. But dry the Gewürztraminer that you've had, that's fine. There's all lots of different styles.
Yeah. What's nice here as well is it's still got the freshness, because Gewurz, as it ripens, can drop its acidity very quickly. It's quite difficult to keep the varieties maintaining that acidity. This still has that freshness to it. So you've got a lovely fruit expression, but you've still got that purity of acidity running through it. So that that shows real skill in growing it, let alone before you get to the winemaking. Actually, growing this stuff in the vineyard is quite challenging, and I think they've done that really well here.
Okay.
It's lovely.
This is for you.
What about Gewürztraminer?
Somontano.
Yes, I've had a couple from Somontano. So you've got. I can picture the bottle. I used to sell a Gewürz from Somontano, and I can picture the bottle, but I cannot think of the name. But I think it was called Se Castilla Miranda, or something like that. And that for me, from memory, it's a long time since I've had that. The specific wine I'm thinking of, I'm sure there's a few available, but that didn't quite have the same floral thing. It was a much sort of bigger, fruitier style, rather than just having the integrated florals. But really good shout, Mike.
Yeah, I've never had 100%. I've had it in blends up there.
Yep.
Tom at Paso Primero makes a white wine that has a bit of Gewürz blended into it, but I've never had 100%. So I'm not in a position to that.
What's the wine from Torres? And it's got some Gewürz in it, and it's a Gewürz. I think it's a Gewürz Muscat blend. It's not Somontano, but it is Penedis. I can only think of Gran Vino Sol, but it's not the Gran Vino Sol. But the Torres do a blend which has got some Gewürz and Muscat in it.
I think Gewürz is interesting in a blend. Is it Debel Tolly make one that's a Gewürztraminer Riesling blend in Australia, and it could be used in little bits somewhere. There was a winery that I used to work with out of Oregon that made a mistake one year that they were blending their Pinot Gris and putting the barrels together, and the cellar hand they had in the corner a little barrel of late harvest Gewürztraminer, and he put that barrel in with everything else. It was so it became 1% late harvest Gewürz, but you could tell it was all over it.
Because there's such a pungency to Gewürz that
a little bit goes a long way.
It does indeed. It makes it a really great blending variety because, as you just perfect example, 1% of it, bang, and it doesn't dominate the blend, but it brings so much. Some varieties you're adding literally just for a bit of acidity or alcohol, and you don't really notice that in that sense. But when you're getting that complexity of flavour and pungency of flavour,
no, absolutely. Hey, it's about what you like.
It is indeed.
I'm not going to tell you that it's right, wrong, indifferent, and this is the joy of wine. There's so many different styles. Some people might go, oh, the Spanish one's amazing. Yeah, some people go, it's a bit meh. Some people go, I prefer France. Some people might love this.
And the real beauty of it is being an environment where you can express that. That's the key with wine. If that's what you think and feel, express it 100%.
I think that sounds like a great plan.
Yes, a great plan.
Oh my word, you and your puns,
on fire tonight.
It puts me out of a job.
I hope you've got the hydrant ready.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna drink more because this Gewürz is.
You drink that. I'm gonna get a little bit more open. But what have we got here? Favourite so far. We'll put that out. Look at that. No, and George completely agree. When it needs a little bit of love. There's not really hiding it when you get it wrong in Gewürztraminer.
Yeah, you can't mask it with some. And a great variety like this, you traditionally wouldn't use oak. So it's not like I've not done this very well. I'll slather a load of oak on it, and people won't really notice. What people would then notice is why have you put a load of oak on this? What went wrong? So there's no place to hide with it, but it's difficult to get right, which just makes it, when they do get it right, even more impressive.
I can pour this in your other glass.
That's a very good idea. Thank you.
It's not a race.
Thank you very much.
It's not a race.
German wine, and it isn't white.
Exactly.
Never.
Anyway, I'm going to move the tasting notes on and let everyone have a little sip of this. So we've got 2 Spätburgunders, but we're going to do the first next.
So the first is second.
First is second, and the Stodden is first.
And the Stodden is fourth.
It is fourth out of the 6, and it's definitely not first. So the first is 5th.
9.
No,
we've not
6.
got 9.
Okay, right.
Don't do numbers here at the Online Wine Tasting Club.
I think we might have done that 3 or 4 times in the today. Before
I know that looked really super rehearsed and slick. It wasn't.
It was just a change on what we've discussed over email in the last 3 months doing this. But anyway, I'll move the tasting notes on so we can pop the tasting notes on. And this is Stodden Spätburgunder. Spätburgunder is Pinot Noir for those, and we're in the Ahr Valley. But before we dive into this, let's do a little bit about wine law from around the rest of the world and things that people should be looking for, noting, and what's aware. So, where do we go? Let's start. We'll do the rest of Germany. France. So France is governed by an AOC or an AOP system, depending. Before, the interesting thing is everything we tell you today will have changed in 3 weeks because wine law is so rapidly changed. We were putting the stuff together for German wine law, and this VDP system is relatively new. That's just started. And that's kind of being put in side by side with the QMP system that then's going to maybe get faded out. And then in 2026, they're putting a new set of laws in anyway. So we're at a very important point in time of either anything before tonight or anything after tonight is going to be different to what we tell you tonight. So enjoy it. So anyway, so it was AOC. It's now moving to AOP in France, which is about the protected region. And then within those regions, depending on the system, you can have your kind of there's Bordeaux has its growth system, which is first, second, third, fourth, fifth growth on, the Medoc and Haut-Medoc. You've then got your Cru Classé system for the rest of it. And then if you end up in Burgundy, you've got what's called a Village system. So the main things you see is kind of most countries will have a equivalent of an AOC system, which is a regional designation for a wine, and that can be based on grape varieties allowed to grow, yields. There's
all sorts of controls down to, as you've just said, yields,
Alcohol percentage,
how you can grow the fruit, the kind of trellising systems you're
how you
allowed to
can
use,
harvest it.
how you can have, how high the maximum plantings can be in terms of above sea level, how low can the lowest be. There's lots and lots and lots of minute controls in for what is effectively a quality assurance system, right? Ostensibly.
It is. So it's kind of, so you've got AOC and Village system or classification system in France. In Italy, you've got the DOC and the DOCG system, and DOCG is basically DOC.
But it's guaranteed.
Tighter, yeah. Your DOC,
it's guaranteed.
Yeah, your DOC. Yeah.
What about those 330 DOCs? Oh, don't worry.
Yeah, but if we can guarantee that, it's okay.
And then IGT.
IGT
or a mess.
Be nice. Stop being. Oh my word. So, but I think Italy showcases something that we had Tuscany that had their DOC, DOCG system, lots of Sangiovese, Chianti, that kind of stuff, and then there was people who wanted to grow Cabernet Sauvignon, and the controlling board said no, you cannot do that, and they said we will do that, and we will make a table wine, and that's fine, and we will call it Super Tuscan. And what were the rules on Super Tuscan when it first started? Nothing.
None.
Whatever you want to do, because it was a table wine with a brand name.
Do whatever you want.
And that is now the Sassicaiyas of the world. These Super Tuscans are some of the most expensive wines, not only in the region, but in the world. Because they decided to go after that. In Spain, we've got a DO system and DOA and DOQ, which is Rioja and Priorat 2. They're there. And then, they've got kind of a Pagos system as well. If you're in an area that isn't recognised, but you're outstanding, you can do that.
You can be a Vinos de Pagos.
And then they have a lot of stuff on aging. When you hear Crianza's Reservas, Grand Reservas is based on aging, depending on there.
Yeah.
What else do we want to talk about? We can talk about Austria. You can talk about Austria. How long you got?
Loads of time. The DAC, isn't it? Districtus Austriae Controllatus.
Absolutely.
And they've got...
Which is based on grape and regionality, mainly, and yields. Unless you go to Wachau.
Don't eat. No, not a clue.
And then you've then got the system with Federspiel and
that Federspiel,
Smaragd, which is based on
alcohol levels.
So the question we really want to ask, because that was bumbling on, I'm sure a few of you have gone to sleep on that, so my apologies.
Come on, you love a bit of wine law Friday night. Come on. Everybody wants
How important are these wine laws for the consumer? Do they make it difficult to understand what's in your glass because it's too much? Or how much is it stifling innovation? That if you think, I've got a really good idea, and I think I would like to grow some French Tempranillo in Burgundy, it could be the best idea on the planet.
Could be.
Not allowed to.
No.
So at what point are we stifling?
So actually, then you'd end up in the situation which we just discussed of having to develop the IGT. So you're in Tuscany and you've got producers going, we're going to grow Cabernet and Merlot, and the consortia are going, you can't, and they did it anyway. And then those wines became expensive, and it didn't make sense calling them table wine. But it's not putting the impetus there. But I think the key thing is how much do you as consumers understand it? Does it get in the way? Does it not get in the way? Does it help?
And how much of it is needed for everyday drinking?
Is this just a paperwork exercise? We need to give people jobs. Is this just a paperwork exercise?
Well, I think there's merits for both sides of it. I really do. I'm not down one side.
No. Same.
I don't think there can be a free for all. Do whatever you want, because if I buy a Chianti, I expect a certain something ish out of it. But then you go, well, Chardonnay. What's an American Chardonnay? Well, is it oaked? Is it not oaked? And they don't have to label any of that.
No.
So
it's not necessarily obvious to you. The origin actually of the French laws, which kind of laid the groundwork for what everybody else does, they weren't made enshrined into law until 1936. And people go, but the French have had these regions for centuries. They have, but they didn't enshrine it in actual legalities and law written down until 1936. And the reason the AOC developed, or soon to be AOP, and I think next week it's going to be DCA, and the week after that it's going to be NBR, isn't it? Something. Yeah, they're just going to keep changing it. The reason they developed it originally was because post-phylloxera and everything had been destroyed. People were getting hold of like really good bottles and labels and just putting any old crap in it. And so they had to find a way of saying, no, we need to guarantee that if somebody buys a bottle of Lafite, what can we do to ensure it actually is Lafite? Or if they buy a bottle that says Pauillac, how can we ensure that? Now, so the origin was to actually stop people being defrauded. That was the original idea.
Well, that's the thing. You went to the States and you could get a bottle of Burgundy, made in California.
Yep.
You know, a good bottle of American champagne, good bottle of American Chablis.
I remember in Australia, a producer
Prosecco.
called
Prosecco all over the place in Australia.
And they're picking up on that. And there's a producer in Australia I remember seeing Horton's White Burgundy. I saw it in books. You couldn't sell it by the time I joined the trade that had been stamped out in the EU. But Horton's White Burgundy, and I don't think it was even a Chardonnay, from memory. It just got Horton's White Burgundy sold in Australia.
Yeah.
You can't even. So I know an English producer who on the back make English sparkling wine, and on their back label they'd mistakenly written it. Sort of somehow it slipped through the net. They'd written this wine is made from the 3 champagne varieties, and just that use of that, the CIVC, the body that governs champagne,
because it had the word champagne.
Because it had the word. They sent them quite a strongly worded letter. Said you need to remove any reference at all to champagne, because we used to call it the méthode champenoise rather than the traditional method, and the champenoise didn't like that, so we had to take it off. So there's an element of this where it becomes incredibly protectionist, which I don't think is necessarily helpful.
I think let's talk a little bit about the Stodden wine, because we've got loads of tasting notes and we're going on about why not.
Would this go really well at Christmas with the German Christmas type cake, Stollen? Yeah.
You need
Sorry,
to,
you carry on.
You need to find another day job or something. I don't know. So this is Stodden. We tasted with Alexander Stodden when we were there. It was really, I say, weird, interesting to go to that region of Germany, because obviously they had those terrible floods. People lost their livelihoods. Things were washed away. We were stood in a vineyard looking down this area of land, and it was like there used to be 14 houses there. And it wasn't, it was like rubble, or it was just nothing. Just gone. And, we talked a little bit about their kind of rebuilding. And he's like, they say winemaking is, about 5% winemaking and 95% cleaning. He's like, we have done nothing but clean for 9 months. The cellar was just full of mud and silt.
And deposit.
So just digging out. Which was sad to see. Great to see the winery back in. Mm-hmm. But you're driving through it, you could see the watermarks on the side of the building, 11 feet high. And you go, and you see these things on the news, and it was horrible. We saw all these barrels and
I remember the footage clearly
tanks
of the
and stuff just going down the road,
carrying everything away.
And it looks horrible. But when you stand there and go, how was the water
up there?
That
because the river itself isn't like normally that impressive, is it?
No, it's beautiful, but it's not. But it's not like looking at the Thames. It's like a little walking through the countryside. There's a nice river, but basically it had all these lovely old stone bridges, and they fell away. So therefore, that caused the blockade. So nothing could get downstream. There was nothing. There was no exit route. There was no other tributary. There was nowhere else for it to go. So the bridge collapsed. That then knocked down the next bridge. That collapsed. So you have 3 bridges worth of stuff there. And then all the other, the wine tanks, the barrels, they're big things. But to see that, the regeneration it's, they said they need more help, they need more stuff. Yeah. They've got the Nuremberg ring just around the corner though, so you need for speed. You can go around there.
Yeah.
But where was I going? I've gone off at a tangent here. But yeah, it was really interesting to go see. But while we're there, it was they were kind of doing a bit of spraying of the crops because of the hill. They spray by helicopter. So you've got these helicopters going around, and we're talking like, is that not really expensive?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what we do is all the vineyards get together and they agree on what the spraying pattern's going to be. Yeah. And it's cheaper to send a helicopter up and spray everything than it is to pay an individual person to do it, because how steep they are and how difficult it is to get to and stuff like that. And we asked, have you ever been up round spraying? He's like, I have once, but won't do it again, because if they put a second person in the helicopter,
doubles of cost.
They can take so much less spray up with them that it costs so much more to kind of go and spray. But this is 100% Spätburgunder, which is Pinot Noir. This is done with a lot of whole bunch of it, but the whole thing in, they don't disturb. So you get this lovely texture, this little bit of greenness.
It's got that nice savoury edge to it, hasn't it?
What I think is really exciting is the two Spätburgunders we're going to do side by side, next and next. One is that style. The other is all kind of like destemmed
Destemmed
and that
fruit.
kind of stuff. Absolutely different style. But these two winemakers, I think, are two of the best Pinot producers in Germany, and they both have their philosophy and mantra as to how to make wine. They both make spectacular wine, but they couldn't be more different, which I think is amazing.
Isn't that the wonderful thing about wine? I know they say in wine, don't they, if you put two MWs in a room, you'll have three opinions. That actually, there are things that are sort of correct and incorrect in wine. I use that terminology very carefully rather than saying right or wrong. But you can have two of the best producers within one region or one country doing things totally differently. It's not even about right or wrong or correct and incorrect. It's what do these things do? What do they express in using these techniques? Do they bring the best out of the fruit, or what characters do they bring out of the fruit more than doing something else?
So what do you think about this?
Endless.
Will this age?
No, because I'm going to drink it all.
Okay. However, will this age?
Will this age? I think it will. It's got the fruit is bright and fresh. It's got a nice acid line.
It's got some crunchiness to it.
It's got some crunchy, savoury thing. There's a bit of time. I think that's got some life. I don't think it's a long term.
No, I think 5.
Yeah, 5.
I think
7. I think you're taking a bit of a risk.
Yeah,
but
I think 3 to 5 you'll see some development. After that, it will hang out for a bit, but it's not going to get.
It's not going to improve massively.
But I think you hit 10 years, you're going to be on the downward slope.
I think you would be. Yeah.
But once again, so much of it depends how you store it. If you keep it in a nice, cool, dark cellar.
I've got a nice, cool, dark cellar. I'll take it for you.
Probably won't. And then test it in 5 years and go, it was great.
But
exactly.
Yeah. Well, again, that's it. That's what I'm here to do. To help other people wine. So I'll drink it and just tell you how good it was. And I'm quite happy that I don't do it for the thanks or the accolades. I will do that for the adoring crowd. That's it. I remember my first real discovery of German Pinot. I was on a trip with the Deutsches Wine Institute. This would have been back in 2011, 2012, something like that. And we actually went out on a Riesling trip, 4 days doing Riesling. But we ended up spending a lot of our time tasting Spätburgunder, Pinot Noir. I remember coming back off that trip going, these people are doing something incredible, but something unique. They weren't trying to copy. We weren't tasting wines that were trying to emulate, trying to be Burgundy, or conversely, maybe trying to be an American style Pinot. They kind of sat in their own bracket. And whilst we associate Germany with white wine, 11.5%, nearly 12% of German plantings are Pinot Noir. And here's one, we're talking about what laws. This again, German wine law on a Friday night. I know what people actually want. During the war years, the political party that was in charge of Germany banned the planting of Pinot Noir. Wasn't actually repealed until quite some time afterwards, when people went, we in England, we've got that really archaic law that is it in Shrewsbury between the hours of like midday and 5 past, you're allowed to shoot somebody who's Welsh with a crossbow or something like this, as long as you're within 12 feet of the chapel or something. Like this really archaic law. It was one of those that it was only in like the 70s where the German nation went, let's get rid of that. We want more Pinot Noir. There you go.
There we are.
I've got all the info for you.
Well, I like your one about, crossbowing people on a Sunday by the chapel.
Yeah, I don't know if that's... We've probably repealed that by now, surely.
Fair, I would check that law out by yourself at home before you pop down the chapel.
I'm not a solicitor. Lee said it was all right.
Lee said it was okay. Things I've learned on the online wine tasting.
But also
Spätburgunder and crossbow.
But also, you'd have to check that individual was Welsh. How do you check that? Nobody carries the passport with them. There's a lot of variables there. So I'd be really careful if you were going to do anything with that piece of information.
Okay.
Fabulous. That is delicious.
Right, let's have a quick look at the tasting notes here.
What does everybody think?
Okay, yeah. And I think this is the thing. This shows, I know it's 2022, but it's showing those characteristics that show it could develop. You've got that leather in there, you've got the spice in there, you've got the pepper. This sees some French oak, so 1,000-litre French oak barrels. Okay. So you're going to get that little bit of cloviness from the barrels, that little bit of herbaceousness. You've got the forest floor kind of characteristic. It's
got that lovely texture, just fine grainy and then crunchy fruit on the finish. I love the central note here because when we tasted this earlier, the first thing I got as soon as I stuck my nose in was just so pure cherry. Absolutely wonderful. But that balancing complexity, if you say the spice and the pepper, it's long.
I think it's
bit of duck with
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's just great wine. It's really well made. It's a great style. And yeah, they make lots of different Spätburgunders with different kind of techniques,
Yeah.
different ages,
Yeah.
different plots. They've got some some old vines, some really good stuff. Some really
Old
good stuff.
vines, you say?
Yes,
Getting very excited by old vines.
I know you are.
Good concentration, extra complexity. But in terms of law, there aren't actually any laws that define what old is in terms of vines. It's not a set thing.
If you plant it's the one I planted the day before yesterday.
Yes.
And then,
I once
and
asked.
then my young vine will be the one planted the day
The
after
day
tomorrow.
after. I once asked an Italian producer. I was in Chianti, and I said, "What's the difference between your normal Chianti and your Reserva?" And he said, "The Reserva is the wine I didn't sell last year, so it had an extra 12 months in the barrel."
Wow,
That was I admired his honesty about that.
that's impressive. That's
Yeah.
impressive. But that once again, that comes back to kind of like the wine law stuff. What
Yeah.
does Reserva mean? It changes depending what country.
Yeah.
In the States, Reserva doesn't mean anything.
No.
In Italy, it's got to be, whatever it is it this percent alcohol this? But in Spain, it's regimented on aging.
Yeah.
So your Reserva versus Reserva versus Reserva, it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it?
It is, and
minefield.
it's also the fact that law is minimum requirement rather than actual requirement. So one producer's Reserva is totally different to another producer's Reserva because they're doing different things, looking to achieve different things.
I keep putting the tasting notes up and forgetting that people might want to see your shirts.
Look, there we go. Other animals might be available in future.
Let's move on to the first wine.
The first wine. Isn't this the second wine? Or technically the fifth wine?
I think we've done that joke.
But I think we could keep going with it.
You're going to milk it.
We should keep going with it because it'll be a lot of fun. That's a brand new numbers joke. We hadn't got that joke earlier.
God, when's Alex coming back? Right.
Sorry, I'm ridiculously pleased with myself for that pun. Well, it's pretty good, you've got to admit.
At least someone's got to be.
So we can see I can do jokes in different languages.
Well,
they're still not funny in other languages, but I can do them. So we're moving on to another Spätburgunder.
Absolutely.
Of a different style. So we've had this one, which is a whole bunch, and it's got that kind of savoury edge. So let's see how the first wine.
I like this, to be franken.
Oh, very good.
Okay,
very good.
There we are. Enough of that. So here we go. So we are in Franken, and this is Rudolf First. Winemaker here is Sebastian First. And this wine's cool. I like this wine. It's nice. It's soft. It's easy drinking. I want that. I want this. And you know what time it is, don't you?
What time is it?
It's holiday picture time.
Oh, here we go.
There we are.
That's a very American thing, isn't it? I know we've got American viewers where you'd go to somebody's house and they'd have that circular thing with the. I saw it on The Simpsons once, so I just took it to mean that that's American cultural.
Oh, everything you've seen in The Simpsons, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this was at the vineyard, but that was it's neither here nor there, really.
I tell you what, you're looking good there.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I look like I was working hard.
Yeah.
So absolutely fantastic, and this was the epitome of going to someone's house. We got down there, we're driving out of the vineyards, and we get a call going, "You can't." It's like, "We can't be long. It's like, why? Because my mum's making dinner, and if we're late back, we'll be in big trouble. And we got back to the winery, and downstairs there's the cellar. There's a little kind of tasting table, and then you go up the stairs, and there's this full-blown kitchen, massive long table, and then behind you is floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the vineyards. So we're sat there drinking venison ragu and fresh-made pasta with a little bit of Pinot Noir, looking over the vineyard. And
he didn't invite me, ladies and gentlemen.
And I always the thing is that wine is great. The stuff in the bottle is great, but wine and the experience that goes with it is the most important. I always say the best bottle of wine you ever had shouldn't be the label. You shouldn't go, I had a 1982 Chateau. No, the best bottle of wine it should invoke a memory. It should be when I had this, I was sat here doing this and this with so and so. I don't often go, oh, do you remember that Louis Guntram Gewürztraminer? Yeah, I had that when I was sat in the studio with Lee making stupid puns. No, I drank it at Louis Guntram overlooking the river. You've got to remember the good times.
Yeah.
But it really showcases that people love their wines. They love their vineyards. They're so passionate about what they're making that he wants to show you around the vineyards and then have his mum make dinner for you.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing.
And anybody that works in wine, whether that's sort of a grower, producer, wholesaler, online wine tasting club, whatever it is I pretend I do, we don't do it for the money or the hours. It's a way of extracting a much deeper meaning about our own existence and understanding our place in the world that becomes so much more important. And those memories.
And it's... Let's talk about this one a little bit first before I get reminiscing about the world. Otherwise, we'll never get home. But yeah, so this... And most people got it, but B, it's amazing, but so different to the previous one. This is much more those darker, those jammier fruits. The first one was more about, I think, the acidity, the crunchiness, the oomph about it. This is a little bit more lush, a little bit more velvety.
It's more plush, isn't it?
Plush,
Silkier.
exactly. This is, for me, sit and drink it all day, every day. Go. The other one, I think, cries out a little bit more for food.
Yeah.
Not that either of them would not go with food or not just drinkable. If I was picking one for an occasion, that would be it. But let's have a little look what the world's
everybody think.
Instant,
we can see that here. Moving, as you just said, moving more to that black fruit rather than the kind of red cherry thing that was going on. There's still kind of pockets of red fruit, in the tasting notes, and I think that's an accurate reflection of the wine. But you've got that slightly darker fruit. But it's just. It's not quite voluptuous. It's not gone that far, but it's moving more in that direction.
No, it's not got to the stage that some warmer climate places get that it becomes jammy. And I was like, is it actually still Pinot Noir? Because sometimes you're getting that in some of the slightly warmer regions. I am going to push people for the chat. Just any of your thoughts about wine lore and what makes your life easy or difficult for selecting or picking a bottle of wine. Is it helpful? Is it a bunch of nonsense? Or would you like some kind of middle ground? Because that's what we're here to discuss. And me talking to him about it.
Yeah, it could get... you don't want that on a Friday. No. But I'm going to pull up a wine law, because we're mentioning wine laws, that did feature on your social media channel. And some people, will follow you on social media and have seen it. I'm sure some people would have known it before that. But about the law in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, where they're not, UFOs aren't allowed to land within the demarcated. I was in Châteauneuf-du-Pape quite some time ago, and I've read this, and I've gone, this is nonsense. And I was talking to the guy there, and I said, not a lot of UFOs around here. And he just said, that's because we've got a law against it. I went, I've got nothing, I'm out.
Yeah, because the aliens in their little guidebook up his face going, really fancy going. We could go to Burgundy, Rioja. No.
We're not allowed.
Not allowed Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Do we have to get a different visa for that?
Yeah, they've got their own Le Mulder and Les Gully down there, haven't they? To put them. But actually, the aliens would be literally reading the rough planet, wouldn't they? Because things a bit rough. Yeah. But no. I just want to know how, if UFOs actually landed in Châteauneuf. Clearly the technology of those beings would be so far superior to anything we've got. What
it's landed there, so they've done the same way that, we had an accident somewhere. So we've now put up a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit because there's been an accident. So they've banned UFOs because they've been there, yeah?
Yeah, that's what it is. Or would they just go, look, you can't park here, off down to Vacara. Just turn right over the river. There you go.
Yeah.
Would they do that?
UFO sightings in Gigondas are
famous for it.
Beyond.
Famous for it.
Free UFO with every case. That's what I heard.
I'd take that. Get off planet.
We've gone
UFOs
off a tangent, haven't we?
But would it be a flying saucer or would it be a flying cigar? That is a wine joke. That's Nobody's got it. It's fine.
Well, anyway,
but it is a wine joke.
I'm going to go back to Tasting Notes here. Yeah. And I like this. Perfect for Christmas dinner. And I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of when people say, what do we pair with Christmas? And is it too early in October to be talking about Christmas? Maybe not. But I like lighter style wines. A lot of people going back to Châteauneuf. People go, big Châteauneuf-du-Pape on the table for Christmas. I'm like, yeah, but you drink that. It's 14.5%. And then you go, done for the day.
And you go, I've only just had breakfast.
I like light, fresh style. I'm a big rosé fan with Christmas because, it's nice. It's light. It's acidity. It's not massively alcoholic. And you don't feel after 83 pounds of turkey, 94 roast potatoes and 6 bottles of wine that you're going to die. You go, that's a nice little acidic pick-me-up.
Yeah.
It kind of freshens everything up. I think this is that kind of style as well. It's nice. It's fruity. It's light enough that will go
Mhm.
with the white meat. It's got enough oomph to go with any level of fattiness
Yeah,
with
yeah.
potatoes and gravy
It
and
will
stuff
cope
like
with the
that. I think
complexities
it's
of all the side
fantastic.
dishes being added. I was going to sort of just jump in there and say, is it too early to talk about Christmas? I popped into Boots, my local Boots, at the end of September, and they were playing Michael Bublé Christmas songs.
Already?
Not just Michael Bublé, but I mean, he only does Christmas songs, I think, doesn't he?
I think
But
so.
at the end of September, I thought that was too soon. That was too soon. But I agree with your sort of proposition there about Christmas, because Christmas Day is about indulgence, and you're eating so many rich, hefty foods. Actually, taking that approach of having wine that will offset it and just be a bit lighter and a bit fresher.
I mean,
This
the
is a
scheme of
really good
things,
shout for Christmas.
drink what you like. That's what matters. Unless
Yeah,
it's
drink what you like, with what you like, when you like, if you like, how you like.
Yeah.
Just do that.
And depending whether or not you like who you're with.
Well, it's Christmas, so I'm assuming people are being forced to spend time with family, so that's usually a
Maybe that's why
questionable,
Chateauneuf is
isn't it?
up at 14.5%.
Yeah,
is
because you
ideal.
just knock yourself out. You don't have to deal with the family then, do you? So I can see the alternative. I can see the other side of this.
I can't.
Yeah.
I love Christmas with my family.
Are they what? Oh, they are watching, aren't they? Yeah, yeah. His thumbs up was genuine. Wasn't.
But anyway,
Yeah, that is that is delicious. But it's again one of the three lines of this. I think this tasting is, there's a lot more to Germany than people necessarily give it credit for or realise. Not only are we exploring red wines, but one great variety, two totally different styles that both work beautifully.
I think so. And once again, you looked at the two different sets of tasting notes. The other one had more leathery, more kind of like cranberry, raspberry, that kind of stuff. And this is more of the deeper, darker fruits.
Mm-hmm.
They both serve a purpose, and I think they're both absolutely wonderful wines. Yeah. And so, it's sometimes we do these tastings. It's horrible to put two things up and go, do you prefer one or the other?
Yeah.
I don't prefer one or the other. It's just what
they
am
do
I doing
different.
with
Yeah,
them?
what am I doing with them?
And that's the thing with any of the wines. That rosé at the beginning. Is it the best rosé for a cold winter's night? Maybe if you got the fire on.
Could be.
But, the sunshine comes out. It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's the right wine for the right occasion.
We judge a lot of wines, broadly speaking, we judge a lot of wines without taking the context of what those wines are supposed to do. And every single wine has a time and a place. And if you recognise that and it fits it and you like it and you're in that time and place, then
it's
give
a
it the
win-win.
credit for that. It is a win-win. This is a win-win. I'm just looking down the side here of the screen that we can see, who said it's perfect for Christmas dinner. I think that was George. Yeah. So basically, we're all going to George's for Christmas.
That's nice.
George, it's fine that we accept that we're going to have some people up here on big chairs, some people on little chairs. We'll probably need a kids' table.
Yeah,
that'll be for the two of us.
Just
obviously.
a case of how many bottles of wine do we need to send in advance.
Yeah. Let us know. We'll get them sent out.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for the invite.
Cheers. Right, anyway, we are now going. You get to do all of this one because you're going to do a WSET tasting.
Oh.
And B, you're going to talk about VDPs.
Ah, the VDP.
The VDP,
yeah,
absolutely.
Which makes an awful lot of sense.
So,
or not, perhaps.
Oh, as long as someone else cooks.
Right, that's just been on screen. This is being recorded. That's there forever. So as long as someone else cooks, what I say is...
We're just going to leave that for the rest of the evening. Anyway, we've got a good note here.
Here we go. Let's have a look at this note. Get what we expect.
Can I tell you, that is a perfect summing up of where we are. You're going to get to a restaurant and go, oh, that says VDP. What does VDP mean? I've got no one's going to do that. No one's going to do that.
No. Nor should they.
No, nor should they.
Right.
So WSET, for you, sir, we're going to do it at a WSET level 2 level. If that's all right for you.
That is fine with me. Actually, a lot of what I do is level 2.
Good. If you need any help.
Perfect. That's good. Yes, that's a handy reminder.
That's a handy reminder. So, okay, just for anyone who's kind of new, can you just explain what WSET level 2 takes? Why do you have this? Let's put this up. Why do you have this grid? What's the point in this? Why bother?
SAT, so this is a systematic approach to tasting. So what we'll have all realised is that tasting wine is inherently actually a subjective experience rather than objective. But as we're learning about wine to move forward and for examination purposes, we need to find a way of aligning everybody's palate and everybody's experience by effectively building a common language. So Ludwig Wittgenstein said that the limits of my language are the limits of my world, right? The language doesn't work unless we're all working off the same definitions. So because we all experience wine subjectively and one person tastes one thing, somebody tastes something completely different. We have to find a way of kind of trying to bring everybody together using the same hymn sheet, right? So if you're in a choir and somebody's singing a different song to you, it makes no sense. So we need to be sharing the same set of musical notes and learning to communicate about the wines in the same way. Now, there's certain things in wine that actually aren't subjective, they are objective, but we don't necessarily have an understanding of that, and those would be the structural elements. So when you hear us talk about acidity and alcohol and tannin, they're physical measurables in the wine. So actually it's reasonably easy to calibrate your palate to those. If you've got a good tutor whose palate is already calibrated, you kind of join along with that tutor, and that tutor will say, right, this wine here is high tannin. So we all need to realise what that is, what that feels like. When we get to flavour, that's where it becomes very subjective. So we share this common language, this common framework. And when you do WSET, you'll be tasting together in a big group so you can share your thoughts and opinions. And eventually, using that and using this great system I've heard about, it's called democracy, kind of build yourself to middle ground and go, this is what the perfect tasting note looks like. The SAT, I think, is a great way of learning how to express wine in its fundamental form. And once you have that, you can then start building up your own tasting terminology, but understanding that terminology still needs to be rooted in some kind of shared experience. As an aside, I was lecturing out in Barbados, and I was just trying to get that in. I lectured in Barbados, basically. And a candidate described...
Not about wine.
Not about wine, no. I don't know what I was doing out there. And a candidate described a wine as tasting like a breadfruit. And I said, great, and moved on. And they asked me if it was correct. And I said, well, I don't know, I've never had a breadfruit. And they said, well, they're growing on that tree that you can see out the window. Now, it turns out it was accurate. Somebody brought me a breadfruit the next day, and I was trying to go, actually, I think the wine did taste like that. But if I haven't tasted it, it doesn't make sense. So this is about building a common framework and then expanding outwards.
Okay, fantastic.
And I'm not actually paid by the WSET to say any of that. I think I've done a reasonably good job. Can we capture that? I'll send it to them, see if I can get
we'll do that.
a few quid out of them.
Fantastic. Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll run through this. I'll pop this up so we can do it, and we'll just do this very quickly. We're going to do this in a 2-minute tasting note, because you're going to put your own tasting notes up anyway. So we're going to look more at the left-hand side, the intensity, the colour, because I think everyone who's been on here on a tasting can do tasting notes. What you'll see on the right-hand side is they use a term called clusters, that you'll see that you've got green fruit, citrus fruit, stone fruit, and then dive a little bit deeper. But just kind of to where we go. So intensity. What have we got?
Well, most white wines that we try are actually pale. I might give that a little bit more because there's a little bit of age on this. I think there's a touch of colour to it.
So are you as far as medium?
I'm pretty close. This is where I go, can we do a level 3 tasting note?
What, so you can go medium minus?
Medium. So I can go medium minus or pale plus. Or there isn't a pale plus, but medium minus. It's somewhere between the two. Actually, if I was teaching this in a real life session, I would stick with pale.
I don't think it's quite got that yellowy for a medium.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. But what colour is it? Lemon, gold, or amber?
From those three.
We'd definitely
from
lemon,
those three. Yeah, with lemon.
Yeah,
with lemon.
And
sorry, me personally, or I mean, I've been called worse.
Yeah.
But
and I think this is the interesting thing. Once you go up the levels, you get more scope to play around, don't you?
So when you do level 3, you kind of go, oh, I wish I had even more things to play with.
But yeah, at level 2, they want you to kind of, if you say medium minus, they'll slap you and go pick one.
Yes.
Okay, so intensity on the nose. So light, medium, or pronounced. That's basically how much it jumps out of the glass and punches you in the face.
Yeah. So the way I do that is I hold the glass away from me and move it slowly towards my nose and figure out when I can smell it. I can smell that before the glass gets to my nose. So what I'm doing to figure out intensity is I'm holding the glass down here, giving it a swirl, moving it towards my nose. I can start smelling this wine about here. This is pronounced. Like, this is really leaping out. It's giving me all its character. So don't worry about what it smells like when you're trying to figure out intensity. Just going, at what point can I start smelling the wine's character? Okay. And this is lovely and pronounced.
And then aromas, what are the main things? Are they primary, secondary, or tertiary? Primary is your fresh fruits. Secondary are your winemaking techniques, so kind of like your oak, your butterscotch, your clove, your vanilla, that kind of stuff. And then tertiary are your development. So in a white wine, things like nuts, caramel, those kind of things.
Petrol. Because we're talking Riesling.
Yeah. It doesn't have to all be about Riesling. So what do we got? Mainly primary, mainly secondary, mainly tertiary?
Mainly primary. There's a lot of really fresh fruit on here.
Lots of citrus.
Yeah.
A little bit of stone fruit in there. And then from there, you can dive into the clusters. We don't need to go too deep and meaningful into it because we'll share the tasting notes with everybody.
We will.
Okay. Sweetness. So sweetness is a fact, not a thought. Because sweetness is there sugar or is there not sugar? Or is there a little bit of sugar? And sometimes we get confused with fruity flavours because we associate a fruity flavour with being sweet, or
Yep.
is the wine actually sweet? So what do we think of this?
It's dry. Well, it's dry. Well, it's a GG, isn't it? It's dry. It has to be dry. It's dry.
It says dry on the
The
bottle.
bottle tells you it's
The
dry.
bottle says it's dry. Acidity, low, medium, or high. And
High.
this is about how much it makes your mouth water when you swallow it.
This is juicy. Do the drip test. So hold your head forward, dangle your tongue inside your mouth. Think about how much saliva is coming down the side of your tongue.
You'll feel it start to race.
Yeah, that's acidity. Like my mouth is watering. I swallowed this wine 30, 40 seconds ago. My mouth is still watering, and it's still fresh. This is mega high acidity.
Tannin, without getting too deep and meaningful, we don't really need to worry about tannin too much when we talk about white wines.
No.
Alcohol, low, medium, high. This is not. There's a feeling of alcohol that you can go, oh, that feels hot, but there's actually limits, isn't there?
Yes,
for
there are.
WSET. Is it now 11 to 14 is medium, and then outside of that is low and high?
Broadly speaking, I think they've notched it slightly, but effectively, most wines are medium. Anything above 14 is going to be high. Anything really below 11.5.
11.5, okay.
11.5. We're splitting hairs below. So this would be a medium, and it's not hot and heavy. There's no heat, but it's not like light and watery either. So this is medium. And again, this is one of the things that you can see on the bottle.
Absolutely. And then body, it's kind of like the milk test. It's how weighty it is in your mouth. And it's the same thing if you've drunk a glass of skim milk versus semi-skim milk versus full fat. It's that weightiness in the mouth.
Yeah.
What do we think of this for body? Just for
this is medium.
And then flavour intensity, very similar to nose intensity, but in the mouth. And it's not about how many flavours you taste. It's like how much is it just there going, boom.
Yeah. Pronounced.
I think this is very pronounced. Well, yeah, pronounced.
Sings and dances. It's blowing whistles. The sirens going off. All sorts of things happening.
So flavour characteristics, same as with the nose, primary, secondary, tertiary. Loads of primary again.
Yeah.
Loads of primary. A little bit of tertiary. Bit of nuttiness,
there's a touch in there.
You gotta look hard for it.
What I would say when you're describing your flavour characteristics on the palate, they should reflect the nose. But when you're writing your notes, anybody that is going through WSET, when you're writing your notes for the palate, it's a really good opportunity to highlight something new that appeared on the palate that wasn't on the nose, or perhaps to reflect, well, on the nose I could smell this, but it hasn't really appeared on the palate either. So it's a good opportunity to reinforce what the nose said, but point out any differences. So use it for that. Amar studying level 2, fantastic. I'm always happy to help. You'll have great tutors, but if you've got any questions outside of that, you get home at the end of the day, you're not sure, feel free to drop me a message on social media, give me a contact and private message, and I'll happily help as much as I can with anybody studying their WSET level 2, 3, 4, let me know. But Amar, good luck. Enjoy your WSET tomorrow. It's fabulous stuff.
Lovely.
Great to see you doing it.
And then the finish before we move, because I know we're yabbering on and we're running.
Actually, subtext there because we're getting close to a finish, aren't we?
Exactly. So we'll finish with the finish.
And
this is how long it hangs out from when you finish it. Not how long it feels like it alcohol burny, but how long you taste flavour for. And is there WSET? Is there kind of like a count that it's 6 seconds is this, 10 seconds is that? Or does it depend on the grape variety?
We've got that a little bit less now. So we used to kind of prescribe it and go 5 seconds, 15 and above 30. We don't do that so much now. The way I try and work out the finish is when you've swallowed the wine or spat it out, breathe in through your mouth and out through your nose. So you're capturing any aromas that are left and you're washing your senses with those smells. And it's how much you can kind of smell or taste the wine rather than the acidity or the sugar or the alcohol. I think this has got a long finish. Actually, those flavours kick around for a long time.
Fantastic. So hopefully that gives a little bit of insight as to what we try and do when we band these words about. And yeah, lemon meringue pie, lemon.
It's quite lemony, this, isn't it?
It's quite lemony. So you mentioned that you'd been to the Wirtsgarten.
I have been to the Wirtsgarten.
So the spice garden or herb garden.
Indeed.
So this is what is called a GG wine, which is Grosses Gewächs. And if you've got your little your booklet, you've got a little pyramid.
That's really handy.
It's really handy.
I wish I'd known you were getting that before I did my research 5 minutes before. I mean, several weeks ago.
I'll put that in front of you. So this is similar to
It's the Burgundy pyramid.
Right? It's the Burgundy pyramid, which is basically area.
Smaller area,
and even
smaller area.
So that's kind of you go up in the pyramid. But the VDP, it's a members group. So you have to apply to be a member. You have to be accepted. So it's not a generic across the whole.
It's like getting a black Amex, basically.
Is it?
Yeah. I still haven't been invited.
So you've got Grosses Lag and you've got Grosses Gewächs, okay, which are your very top. Grosses Gewächs has to be dry.
Yep.
Grosses Lag is your sweeter style wine. So if it says Grosses Gewächs, it's going to be dry and the most premium. And it comes from a certain part of a certain vineyard. So in this state, we've got Dr. Lusum, who is the producer. I could go to Badger Cam here, couldn't I?
Yes. Get the badger up.
So can we see the...
If you ever get the chance to spend any time with him, he comes over to the UK a lot. If you get the chance to do a tasting with Ernie Lowson, go. He's one of the most charismatic and entertaining speakers in the whole wine industry.
He is
great
fantastic.
fun to spend time with.
Fun to do blind tastings with as well.
Yes. So and he's got an incredible cellar. All sorts of stuff in there.
1969 Alex Corton, but
he does like his Burgundy, doesn't
1994 J.L. Chavez.
I've got to go and
anyway,
give him a call.
Anyway, let's get back to this. So we've got officially on the. I keep doing this thing with the mouse, but I know no one can see the mouse at home. So in the middle of the bottle, that is the winery there. Obviously, Dr. Lucen, 2020 is the vintage, and then you've got Ergser Wirtsgarten, okay, which is the name of the vineyard, and then you've got Alter Reben, which is the part of the vineyard that these grapes come from. Which is what makes your Grosses Gewächs. And for it to be a Grosses Gewächs, it has to come in this fun little labelled bottle with the GG on the neck, if you see that. Did you have a story about the Wirtsgarten? You said you.
No, I was lucky to spend there. So Urzig is the kind of the village, and Wirtsgarten is the vineyard, and I was there, and it's on the very steep slopes as these pictures show, and that was the vineyard that I was stood in, where I sort of said earlier, we were there in spring, but it was a warm spring admittedly, but the heat, the sunlight being reflected off the river up to the top of the vineyard was so intense because it was being reflected back. You don't realise how warm it gets, and it's only because of that effect that they could ripen grapes sufficiently here to make wine. So a fabulous, beautiful, beautiful place. But again, you stand at the top and go, how does anybody work fruit here?
No,
this is really challenging.
Absolutely insane.
And I've just noticed that this wine is a GG, so surely I should have been wearing a shirt with horses on.
So interesting question here. So Magnus put here, just wondering why you wanted to taste this one at the end. I think it was because we didn't want to bog everyone down in a million gallons of wine lore at the beginning, and we were a bit worried putting a GG next to the dry slate Riesling being, the same grape but so vastly different that it would make people pick and choose a style.
Yep.
And sometimes there's going up in, either level of quality or level of style. But this is, when we get the price, this is by far the most premium wine on the tasting tonight, and the most expensive wine tonight. And I just thought, rather than bundle it in the middle and then go on to reds, and no disrespect to any other one we had tonight, they've all been phenomenal, I just thought this was the right wine on a Friday night to finish up with and have a fun little sip of.
I think
people are excited by doing the tasting notes, so we should do this more often.
Excellent. I think there's a thing with when you get sort of GG wines or the very highest level of German wine. So if you're in your Predicate system out with the VDP and you're talking Trockenbier and Auslese, are obviously getting sweet wine, so you'd always finish on a sweet wine. But when you've got things like Grosses Gewächs, which are very high levels of quality and dry, the complexity and intensity of those wines kind of naturally leads to them coming at the end. So one thing I've learned in all my years doing this, whenever you set up a wine tasting, and for any of you who might be wanting to do wine tastings at home with your friends, things like that, don't pour over the order too much, because if you've got 6 wines, there's so many different ways of pouring those wines, and whichever order you suggest would work in some ways and wouldn't in others. It's so difficult to get an order right.
Absolutely.
Almost anything works.
So we've got a couple of things. So this is we'll keep tasting, we'll keep drinking this, keep asking questions. But we are going to go to our quiz.
Friday night quiz.
So if you want to get your name in. I'm going to give everyone about a minute to get their names in. So if you're on Slido, log in, type your name in, press go. We're going to give everyone a minute.
Do it. Stop looking at me. Get on the quiz. But hi, thanks for looking at me.
From the other camera as well. So We're going to do the quiz. Lee may have written a song, so we're going to do a song.
I might have done that.
And look, everyone is loving the unexpected reference to Prodigy in the German wine notes. Of course they are. Of course they are. You didn't read that because you didn't have that before you started.
Excellent.
Oh,
Excellent.
if you've run out of wine as well, grab another bottle, pour another glass.
Come on, get something else open.
Okay.
And George, we're coming around for Christmas. We'll get our people to talk to your people. We'll get it sorted out.
Okay, right. I'm going to get rid of that. We've got lots of people in. Lots of people
Look
in.
at this.
Oh, I'm going to give 30 seconds and then we're going to go live.
Come on. Get yourself stuck in.
Oh.
It's a good quiz. I've seen the questions. It's possible. It's achievable.
Is it?
You can do it.
Good.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Yeah.
Okay, right. We're in the bottom corner. Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to go 10, 9, 8. Oh, by the way, you've got to select your answer and then press send. Okay, so it's a 2-button thing. Answer, then send, and it's timed. People got upset last time with 15 seconds, so everyone's got 20 seconds per question this time. Okay, so make sure you press it in and press send. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
There's also points for how quickly you answer, so it's being right and being quick.
Oh, it's like that entry thing on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, isn't it?
Fastest finger first.
Fastest finger first. That's it.
16. Oh, we're all in.
Look at this.
Oh, look at that.
100% success rate.
And who's top? Oh, Ian's top 4 seconds.
Never mind grey slate. We've got a clean slate.
Speedy. Let's go.
Oh, dear.
We know Alex isn't here, but where is he?
We just locked him out, actually.
Don't say that. The answer's there. As I said, it's not all about getting it right. It's all a bit of fun.
Yeah, that's it. Is he a Jedi in his spare time?
Maybe. Oh, so people have got Boston. Oh,
DC.
The answer is... Sorry, a bit of a trick question there. Where's that gone away?
It didn't show you the answer.
It didn't show you the answer. He was in Jamaica, Vermont. Sorry. Why didn't that come up with the answer? But we'll see. Okay, questions are coming in. We'll catch up on the leaderboard after the next question. We went over this briefly, but was it briefly enough?
Who knows?
That's too many German words. Do you know?
With their compound nouns, honestly, what are they playing at? Those crazy Deutsches.
There we are. Can I spell? Oh, but yeah. What was the right answer?
So that, for anybody doing WSET, that's a very WSET style exam question at level 2. That's the kind of question you might see. Winebirds up top. Obviously, no one got where Alex was. Sorry about that. So that makes it even for everybody. Here we go. Which is not a German wine region. By the way, I can only see the quiz and not the chat at the moment. So if you're putting anything in, I'm not there. Here we go. He's with you in spirit in the chat. I should have some spirits in the chat. Here we go. Maybe some schnapps. Oh, and the answer was? So 67 said Camptal. Correct. Oh, Magnus jumped to the top by a second. It's so close. What does Trocker mean? It means something. Oh, so when you get the German wine out, now you're trocking. That one doesn't work so well. Get one of those hats. I need to get one of those American hats. Keep trocking. That's what I need. Kurt Russell wearing it. Yeah. There we go. But what was the answer? Oh, we've got 59 on bone dry, 35 on off dry, 6 on sweet. Well done. We're bone dry. Magda. Oh, it's now got an 11-second lead. QMP. That means the. I'm not even going to say what that means because that will give it away, won't it? So I'm not. What have we got? I hope I've clicked and got all these. I hope I've got all these answers right myself. Otherwise, I'm going to look a fool. Aren't I always worry about that when I do quizzes. Town and vineyard where the grapes are grown. Oh, correct. Well Everybody's done. In there. You did it so well with the. So,
After 6 out of 8 questions, Magda's there. Ian's close
She's
behind.
in top spot. This is anybody's game.
This depends if you have been a fan for a while.
I know, that's it. This is a real test, isn't it?
Love
of loyalty.
Me for a Riesling. Let the or
Oh,
if
dear.
you're going to drink some Riesling. So many options. So many options. I got 21 Rieslings to go.
Riesling's to be cheerful.
Must be the Riesling Welcome
Part
King
3.
of my castle. Which one did Alex sing? There was 60% for Love Me for a Riesling. Unfortunately, that's not what we did. We did. Must be the Riesling one, King of my castle. But we should do Love Me for a Riesling. And now...
Look at that, Magda, with 13 seconds.
13 seconds ahead. And the final question is all about our special guest host.
Well, I'm a guest host, so I wouldn't say I'm special, but that's very kind of you. Why am I Wineman 147? Why am I? That's my question. Why am I?
I think there's a...
I'll go and read some Sartre.
I know what my favourite answer is, to be fair. I should have had all of the above.
Yeah.
was all of the above not
that'd actually probably all apply. What have people gone for?
Oh, look,
oh my word.
You can see what people think of you.
I'll take that. People have thought far worse in the past.
Okay, so you want to tell the answer before I click it over?
I am a big fan of the world's greatest sport, snooker, and of course wine.
So, time to reveal.
I've never made a 147 though.
So tonight's winner by... What's that? 8 seconds.
8 seconds.
8 seconds. Oh, Ian, Tottenham Hotspur, just 8 seconds too slow. But there we are. So congratulations, Magda. Well
Superb.
done on that one.
All prizes are imaginary.
They are all imaginary. So let's find us again. Where are we? We're here.
Here we are.
We're back. So what we're going to do, Lee's going to find his guitar.
Oh dear.
I'm going to move this little chat on. And the hardest question was, where's Alex? That while we're going to play a little, he's going to play a little song. Let's pick your wines of the night, and we'll see how everyone's going with them.
Yeah, what were the favourites? What was your personal? Well, we'll see what everybody else thought
I didn't want
first.
I need to go there first. There we are. Perfect. So we'll let them rank, and we'll go. But you can.
Okay.
So it's not option. We Have we got?
Yeah.
I haven't got any lyrics here. You turn up with a certain lyrics. Here we go.
I apologise.
I'm just following your lead.
That implies I know what I'm doing. Here we go. There are some laws in Germany. They're called the QMP. They've been the ruin of many a poor student. And oh, I know I'm one. My Riesling was a spade laser. The wine I drank was dry. Then there was the Auslese. Can someone please tell me why? Now we have the VDP, whose focus is the sight. The only time that they are satisfied is when the label's right. So drinkers, tell your children, what should we tell them? Not to do what we have done. That's what we're telling them. Spend your lives confused and dealing with the naming of the Riesling. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. So, wines of the night. Top wine was the Lucerne Riesling, which I'm not surprised.
That's good.
Second place came the Rosé.
Wow.
And then everything else behind it was all very close, all very tied, quite close together, which is absolutely fantastic. I hope everyone had an exciting time tasting lots of cool stuff. Next month we are back. What are we with next month? That's a very good question.
You're tasting more cool stuff.
Oh, we're doing English wine and winemaking. So me and Alex in the next few weeks are going to try and go and see some people and talk to some people about some things. So that should be a lot of fun. We've probably bombarded you enough times already, but if you haven't seen, we are doing our very own advent calendar this month. It will be delivered by these lovely gentlemen here. It's $99.95. You can pre-order it for 10 quid to get your name on it right now in short supply. We've only got a few left.
That'll be awesome.
24 wines, 24 is our varietal set. So 24 different grapes over 24 days could be a lot of fun.
There are 24 different grapes. What a great opportunity to try them all.
Exactly. So loads of fun. But yeah, if you love the wines, dive in, buy them, drink them, get on with them. Lots of fun. But I know we've run a little bit long tonight. I'm going to have a quick last look at the chat to see if there's anything else. Ian is obviously saying that. Thank you very much, Ian. That's great. And hey, King of the Castle. You remember him performing King of the Castle? Well, there we go.
Fantastic.
But anyway, massive thanks to Lee for holding down the fort while Alex hasn't been here. Massive thanks to all of you who have joined in and dealt with our stupid wine puns. But hopefully you've had a good time. You've learned a little bit, learned a lot, drank some great wines, found out a little bit. And for those who thought it must be the Riesling while I'm king of my castle, we'll see what it's about. Anyway, good night from me.
Good night all.
Good night from him.
Absolute pleasure to chat to you again.
Have a great night. Goodbye.
Take care.
It must be Riesling that is king of the castle. There must be a reason why it lights up Jamie's soul. From Deutschland where it is made in a castle. The Germans really make the finest examples of you. Must be the Riesling that is king of the castle. From dry to uber sweet, this grape makes them all. Find it in Australia or even California. But Germans truly make the finest examples of you. It must be Riesling that is king of the castle. There must be a reason why it lights up Jamie's soul. From Deutschland where it is made in a castle. The Germans really make the finest examples of you. Must be the Riesling that is king of the castle. From dry to uber sweet, this grape makes them all. Find it in Australia or even California. But Germans truly make the finest examples of you.